Hello everyone, this is Jane from the Stitchin' Post, and we decided we wanted to make a video today because this weekend is our annual traditional customer showcase Viking Club event, and we have so many wonderful projects, and we're having to limit our seating right now, and we know that some of you are really not at the point yet where you're comfortable coming out in a group of people, and we didn't want you to miss all the wonderful things that customers have brought in to share today. So we're just going to do a quick whirlwind tour and give you a chance to see these great projects. I'm just going to start and go around the room. So the first one is these cute Easter treat bags with the carrot shape and the bunny applique, the little pom-pom tail. These were made by Johnny Smelts. Johnny also made this zipper bag with the heart applique. Johnny is a student in Barbara Steely's general sewing class. You see, this is a lovely zipper bag. And Johnny wanted to learn to do applique, and so she chose these two projects and learned to do applique and made some really cute projects in the process. So we are very glad that she chose to bring those to share with us for this event. We also have in the background here, this quilt is called Gary's Sudoku quilt. It was made by Bonita Hollis for her husband, who is a Sudoku fan. And she designed this quilt. She used 9 blocks and put them together in all these different ways to represent the puzzles. And the colors of the quilt are colors of the ties that Gary has worn to work through the years, and those are his favorite colors. And so she chose fabrics to represent those. And this is a really big, beautiful quilt. And I don't know if are we close enough that we can see the quilting on here. I mean, it really is certainly a labor of love, and I know that Gary is enjoying it and will enjoy it for many years to come. We're really glad that Bonita brought that in to share. We also have here on the table several examples of the designer placemats and napkins. This is project from a class that Stacy has taught several times over the years. She kind of invented this project, and you see that these placemats are beautifully made with this framed border with mitered corners, and the central portion is sort of a feature fabric that's quilted. Got this little binding piece around here to set the whole thing off. The napkins also have a hem with a mitered corner, and this is a technique that Stacy teaches in the class. This particular set was made by Deborah Fuqua. The example here in K-Facet Fabrics was made by Barbara Emerson. The next one in the Parisian Fabrics was made by Miriam Mayhew. And the lovely Fantasia feather and butterfly examples here were made by Cindy Young, and those were all done in Stacy's most recent edition of the class. Also on the table here we have this cute tray with the napkins and the little mug rugs out of this wonderful fall fabric. Perfect for this time of year. This set was made by Julia Brooks, and these again are the designer napkins with the mitered corners. Julia, I believe, has also been in that placemat class as well. So thank you, Julia, for sharing those. The next project here is a tea towel. This is a blue, I believe it's called Blue Christmas, this wonderful Santa tea towel with the machine embroidery design. This was done by Cindy Young, and the design is from Embroidery Library. And I believe Cindy indicated this has 19 different thread colors and over 88,000 stitches. So a very, very beautiful design, and I think he looks wonderful on that red background. Also from Barbara Steely's class, Jana McConnell, for her very first sewing project. She has wanted to take classes with us for some years, and she had a change in her work schedule this year, which permitted her to do so. So she has made a Christmas pillow cover, an envelope-style pillow cover here, that she is going to plan to make several versions of over the course of the months and the year, so that she will have a pillow cover that she can change out and use on this pillow form to fit the season and the time of year. So great job, Jana. We're glad that you're able to take classes with us, and we look forward to many more projects to come. Next, at the top here, we have a double wedding ring table topper. This was made by Kathy Arthur. Kathy's goal is to make a double wedding ring quilt for each of her 5 children as wedding gifts when they marry. And as sort of a trial balloon, she decided she would make a small version of a double wedding ring just to see if she could do it. And indeed she did. She did a wonderful job. And at the time that she submitted this to us, she indicated she is now halfway through her first, I think, queen-size double wedding ring quilt. So good job, Kathy. These are beautiful colors. This fabric is a jelly roll that she purchased of our Little House on the Prairie fabrics that came out several years ago. Very, very nice work. And below that, we have a table topper, or it could be a wall hanging here, made by Deborah Morris. And Deborah made this for her Aunt Mary, who is 94 years old. She is a retired first grade teacher. And the poem on here, Come Little Leaves, is a poem that her first graders memorized every October. So she did this machine embroidery design with the tree with the fall colored leaves and embroidered the poem on there as a special gift for her aunt. And I think that, I believe she said this was actually her first machine embroidery project on her new Brilliance 80. And she did a great job, and we really appreciate her sharing that with us. Next, we have this tunic. This is the K tunic. The pattern is from Style Arc, and this was made by Miriam Mayhew. I think I have a copy of the pattern here. The K tunic by Style Arc comes in 2 size ranges. This would be the smaller size range, 4 through 16. This is a great garment. This one is made out of a Robert Kaufman double gauze. Has these wonderful pockets on the side, and you see the shaping at the bottom with the little points on the sides that gives a very slimming effect. Miriam did a great job on this. She did this project also in Barbara Steely's sewing class. On the wall here, we have a very traditional basket quilt. This was made by Helen Hall, and she's done it in blues with sort of beiges and neutrals in the background. Very, very traditional quilt, and she has done a really good job of piecing this, and the quilting as well is really lovely on this quilt. Good job, Helen. The next quilt is Posey's Puzzles. This quilt was made by Melody Parsley. This was a block of the month quilt that we did starting in 2019 and I think finishing up early this year in 2020. Melody indicated that she was a little intimidated at first by this project, but by doing it on a month-by-month basis, it really enabled her to build her confidence and to made it into a doable project. And I think it has turned out absolutely wonderfully. She was planning to choose maybe even this white on white, tone on tone for her backing. We didn't have enough of that when she got to her back, so she chose this wonderful green and blue piece, which is also represented in the quilt, as you see here, And I think it made just an absolutely wonderful backing for her quilt, and she's thrilled with it as well. She also made the recommendation that we should all be sure to label our quilts. Her children particularly asked her to do that so that everyone in future years will know who made the quilt and when it was made. And that's an important thing for all of us to remember. Very nice, Melody. Thank you for bringing in your Posies puzzles. The next project was made by Ellen Lewis, and this is a duffel bag. This is a Cindy Taylor Oates duffel bag pattern booklet. And Ellen made this for use in her travels as a carry-on bag. It is a very substantial, well-made bag. It has a big zipper opening to hold all your stuff. And she had enough fabric left to make the laptop bag, which has a pocket on the front here where she can store her travel receipts from her trip to access when she gets home. She's monogrammed it for personalization, and it even has a personalized luggage tag as well. So very nice. No one will get that mixed up with anyone else's. That is a one-of-a-kind project, and we thank Ellen for bringing that one in. Next on the wall here is a Janie Christmas tree quilt, or tree quilt, I guess I should say. These fabrics really, although they were built as a Christmas collection, could be used at other times of the year as well. This was made by Helen Hall. This was a kit that we had available, and the quilt was taught as a class by Sharon Taylor. And these wonderful floral fabrics are really, really cute for Christmas, but again, this could be left out all winter long and even into spring and summer if you so choose. Good job, Helen. That's a beautiful little quilt. And the next thing we actually have two of the Take a Stand bags. This one was made by Helen Hall, and you see that this is a nice big bag. It has mesh pockets inside it. It has an optional acrylic insert that you can put in the base of the bag to add stability and strength. This is a big enough bag to hold your featherweight if you are a person who has a featherweight. And the way the strap is attached, you can see it's a single strap attached in the back on one side and the front on the other side, so that it is very easy to carry. Works very well, very functional. We have another version of that bag. This one was made by Miriam Mayhew, and she has chosen different fabrics, of course, and you see that it does give a very different look to the bag. Helen chose sort of 30s or 40s reproduction fabrics. Miriam's bag is more modern in appearance, but same style, and again, big enough to hold your featherweight or whatever else you might like to put in it. So thank you, ladies, for bringing those bags in. On the wall here in between the two bags, we have this beautiful, beautiful quilt that was made by Lucy Neal. It's called Around the Corner, and she did this as a block of the month quilt from a shop in Australia. Some of the fabrics on the front of the quilt are fabrics that we have or have had in the shop. Her backing fabric is also one of our fabrics, as is her binding. And Lucy, I'm not sure which of her Viking machines she quilted this on. She does have several, but she has done an absolutely wonderful job. The piecing on this, I believe, was done by machine, but the applique, most of the applique is in wool felt. You see the beautiful, brightly colored pieces of wool felt. Those are stitched by hand, as are the cotton applique pieces that you see here in the trees. And these little fussy cut circles, all of these pieces are appliqued by hand, as are, I believe, the centers of the flowers and leaves here on the wool felt background. So Beautiful, beautiful project, big quilt, and we thank Lucy so much for being willing to let us share this project. The next quilt was made by Lisa Palmer, and the official name of the project was Coming Home. Lisa chose to rename it as Go Home, Stay Home, because this is a project that she worked on and finished during the initial part of the COVID stay at home, work at home period of time. So this is pieced and appliqued, lots of fussy cutting and beautiful quilting. Interesting fabric choices. You have to look at this for a while before you see all of the really wonderful fussy cut elements in a wide variety of fabrics. This one was pieced on Lisa's Sapphire 965Q, and you can see that she did an absolutely wonderful job.
Just get a couple more.
All right. Give my cameraman a chance to show you as much of this as possible. Our next project is a pleated log cabin quilt. This was made by Linda Todd. This was also a class taught by Stacy. You see that this quilt, although it's a log cabin type design, it's got three-dimensional kind of texture here because it's made from folded strips. Folded 2.5-inch strips actually are what's used in this project, and it's very, very scrappy. That's what makes it so beautiful and so special. And we do hope to do this class again once things kind of hopefully get a little bit more toward normal, because it was a very enjoyable class. And I would encourage y'all to look for that. The pattern is by Lynn Wilson Designs, and again, this quilt was made by Linda Todd. Thank you, Linda, for sharing it. On the stool here, we have a Mondo bag. This was made by Barbara Emerson. She used sewing theme fabrics, and she laid out her squares with the little gray dots, making a pattern that's less busy than some Mondo bags and gives it an interesting overall appearance to the bag. Sticks to her sewing theme with her lining, which is a button fabric. If you've never made a Mondo bag, it's always very popular. You use the fusible gridded interfacing and fuse your squares to it, fold and sew, and it's a fun project. If you've never tried it, we encourage you to give it a shot. I think you would enjoy it. And thank you, Barbara, for sharing your Mondo bag. This quilt is made by Cindy Young, and it is in the Naughty or Nice collection by Basic Gray from Moda. It's the Candy Bar Road quilt pattern, which uses a layer cake and a jelly roll. Cindy did vary this up slightly by choosing a red solid for the center of these blocks. We have a sample of this quilt here in the shop that has not used the solids and has used the layer cake and jelly roll for the entire quilt, but I think the red squares or the red rectangles in the center of these give it a very interesting appearance. So this is a classic quilt pattern that I'm sure Cindy will use again and again, and you can add a border to it if you would like it to be a little bigger. It's easy to piece and a very versatile quilt. Should mention this one was quilted by Carol Hurt. I think she may have quilted one of the other quilts that we have shown. I think she may have quilted the Sudoku quilt, but I know for sure that she quilted this one, and she did a great job on the quilting. The next quilt here is a beautiful double wedding ring quilt made by Joyce Opitz. This pattern is from Quilt Works, Judy Niemeyer. It is Grandma's Wedding Ring with flying geese and squared up border. It's done with paper piecing, as Judy Niemeyer's patterns tend to be. It is 90 by 102. It was custom quilted by Eddie Landreth, and you see the beautiful quilting in the blocks and the borders on this quilt. It has a piped binding, which adds a very nice finish. And Joyce has done this in beautiful neutral batiks, and the background fabric and the fabric in the flying geese border, the white fabric, that is Riley Blake Confetti White Solid, which is it's a whiter solid fabric than some of our other quilting solids, and sets this quilt off very beautifully. Our next project is a shirt or tunic and pants. These were made by Phyllis Westerfield, and they are from the book. Excuse me for 1 minute while I get my book. They are from the book Everyday Style by Lotta Jansdottir, and I'm sure I'm not pronouncing her name right, and I apologize for that. But this is the Esme top. It's a great top. The shape of it, the little pleat, little openings on the sides, and it has pockets. And I love pockets in a top. The pants are the Owen pants from that same book. And you can see how they are partially elastic with a flat area in the front here. Again, great pockets in the front, and there are pockets in the back of these pants as well. So there are other great projects in that book, but that is 2 of them. And actually, Phyllis told me that this particular fabric was an inexpensive piece that she had in her stash, and she considered this as a muslin or a toile, as they're sometimes called. She did it just simply to test the fit of the pattern, and it turned out to be just right and very wearable, and I think it's a beautiful garment. Next is the Mimi's Garden quilt. This was done by Anita Falasco. The blocks are from Aunt Bee's Garden, which is a collection of embroidery designs available in both a hand embroidery version and a machine embroidery version. Anita's are hand embroidered, and they are absolutely beautiful. She has chosen 30s fabrics to accompany them, which is very, very appropriate. This was quilted by Tiffany Nowak, and she has titled it Mimi's Garden after her grandmother, who is the person that taught her to embroider when she was a little girl. So absolutely outstanding, Anita. Thank you for being willing to let us share this with everyone. The next quilt is called Toward the Sun. The pattern is by Robin Pickens, and the fabric collection is Dandy Annie, also by Robin Pickens. The quilt was made by Susie James, and it was quilted by Tiffany Nowak as well. You see that it is done, the circles are not, this is not curved piecing, this is actually fusible raw edge applique on the circles, and they're blanket stitched down. Very modern quilt, lovely colors in this collection, and Susie has done a great job of putting these together, and the quilting design lends itself very nicely to the look of the quilt. Thank you, Susie. Next project is the Enchanted Garden quilt. This is another one by Anita Falasco, and this was a block of the month quilt that we did in 2019. It is a combination of wool applique and cotton applique. Some of the pieces are wool, many of the pieces are cotton. And There is some embellishment with beads and so forth on here. Anita did this applique by hand. The cotton pieces are needle turn and the wool pieces are blanket stitched. This was quilted also by Tiffany Nowak, and Tiffany did a great job of custom quilting this quilt. One of the things that I particularly love about this quilt is I'm pretty sure that in this block in the center, I'm pretty sure there was actually only one cat on this block, and it was a different color cat. And Anita customized this because those, I think, represent her two cats. So I think that's really, really special, and love to see this quilt finished. Thank you, Anita, very much for sharing. The next quilt is called My Favorite Things. This was made by Miriam Mayhew, and it was made last year, 2019, finished this year in Sharon Taylor's Piecing Skill Builder class. And this is a very scrappy quilt that Miriam has done with pieces of fabric she has accumulated over the years. Some of them even have come from France. And you see that she learned so much in this class. There are a variety of blocks here that encompass different piecing techniques using triangles. The little log cabin blocks were actually paper pieced, so that technique was learned. The star blocks. Part of the work of making this quilt is having everything come out to be the right size so that when you add these borders, everything still lines up. And Miriam did a great job on this quilt. And I think that she would agree with me that Sharon is a wonderful teacher. She does a wonderful job. And I would encourage you to take a class with Sharon if you haven't already. The pattern for this quilt is from the book Scraps Inc. Volume 1. And it's a very scrappy quilt. Some of the folks in the class chose to use more themed fabrics and didn't have quite as scrappy of a look. Their quilts were also beautiful. And you can definitely, this is a project you can make your own. Thank you, Miriam. That's a very, very special quilt. Next, we have a version of the Stitch and Post Strippy apron. This one is in Cave Facet Fabrics. It was made by Barbara Emerson. And Barbara loves Cave, as many of us do. Some people have difficulty kind of trying to get their head around what to do with Cave's fabrics because they're so bold and the prints are so big. But Barbara she made the placemat that you saw earlier, and she made this apron, and I think that it just serves as a very nice example of how these fabrics can be made up into all sorts of different projects. And it doesn't matter if the prints are big, just cut them up and use them, and it will work. It just works so nicely. So this is a great apron. It's pieced. It is stripped on a foundation of, in this case, a solid fabric. So it's a nice weighty apron. And the way the facings, there's a facing that's added along the curved edge here so that your apron strap is one continuous piece going through this casing, which means you can adjust it for tall people, small people, and make it a very comfortable, well-fitting apron. So good job, Barbara. That's very lovely. The very last project is the quilt on the wall here that is made by Kay Lindley. This is the balloon quilt, and it started with this piece of fabric, which she bought. It's called Cityscapes, and she bought it to use for another project and decided that it wouldn't really work, and it was put away until she had a new granddaughter coming along, and her room was going to be decorated in a balloon theme. And so Kay's husband helped her with drawing the design for these balloons, and Kay chose the additional fabrics. You can see how she chose the basket weave here for the balloon basket base of this balloon. And this is a 100% original design by Kay and her husband for the new baby granddaughter, whose name is Addie. So good job, Kay, and I know Addie will treasure this for many, many years to come. Quilting really accompanies this design very well. Nice job. All right, everyone, that was our 32 projects that were submitted this year for our Viking Club Showcase. We thank each and every one of you for bringing in your projects, and we look forward to doing this again next year. Thanks for watching.